All right, let's talk about Frankenstein. You know, Mary Shelley's masterpiece isn't just about a monster. It's a story of ambition, horror, and it all pivots on a single piece of paper. Yeah, that's what we're doing today. We're going to unpack one devastating letter. A message that completely changes the game, turning a story about science into a nightmare of grief, guilt, and pure terror.
So let's paint a picture here. You've got Victor Frankenstein. He's away at university in Ingolstadt, and he is just completely lost in his work. I mean, this groundbreaking and, let's be honest, terrifying work. He's basically gone off the grid, hasn't talked to his family in ages. And then, out of the blue, a letter from his father arrives. And you can tell right from that very first sentence, something is horribly, horribly wrong.
His dad starts with this line, and wow, it's just a heartbreaking admission, right? He's basically saying there's no way to soften the blow that's about to land. This isn't your typical, hello, how are you letter. No, this is a warning shot. And it immediately just fills you with this sense of dread. You know something awful is coming.
And you know what's so powerful here? It's the father's empathy. He can literally picture Victor's eyes just skimming over the page, heart pounding in his chest, desperately searching for the one sentence that's going to spell out the horror. It's such a clever way to write it because it pulls us right into Victor's panicked state of mind. We feel that frantic energy with him.
So after setting up all that dread, the letter just cuts right to the chase. The father doesn't waste any more time. He delivers the news, and he does it in two short, absolutely brutal blows.
First, there's the initial shock. William is dead. And this isn't just any brother. This is Victor's youngest, most beloved brother. And notice how his father doesn't just say he's dead. He immediately brings up how he was this sweet child with these amazing smiles. It's not just a fact, it's a total emotional gut punch. It's meant to make that feeling of loss and injustice hit even harder.
And then comes the second hit, and it's even more horrific. This wasn't an accident. He didn't get sick. The letter just lays it out. Quote, Victor, he is murdered. That one word, man, it changes everything. This isn't just about grief anymore. Suddenly, it's about violence. It's about malice. And it means there's a killer out there.
So you're probably asking, how did this even happen? Well, the letter shifts gears here. It becomes a story with Victor's father walking him through exactly what went down that awful night and how a perfectly normal family outing just descended into an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, this timeline really helps you feel that panic just building and building through the night. I mean, it starts as a simple family walk, right? Then it turns into a game, and then he's gone. You can just feel the family's desperation growing as they're out there searching with torches all night long, their hope just slipping away with every single hour that passes.
And the thing is, the reason he went missing was so innocent. He was just playing a game of hide and seek. That little detail is just absolutely gut-wrenching, isn't it? Because it just highlights how random and cruel this all was. 1 second of childhood fun, and it turns into a deadly encounter.
And Victor's father, he makes sure to mention how tormented Elizabeth was during the whole search. I mean, even before they knew the awful truth, just the idea of that sweet little boy being out there all alone in the cold, wet night was causing her extreme anguish. It really shows you how much they all loved William and the sheer terror they were all feeling.
And then, morning finally comes. The whole tone of the letter shifts again. It gets really stark, really somber, as the father gets to the part where he describes the moment he found his son.
And there was no doubt about what happened. The description is just chillingly direct. He describes the body as livid and motionless. And then there's the undeniable proof. The print of the murderer's finger was on his neck. In that one instant, any tiny shred of hope that maybe he just got lost and, succumbed to the cold, it was just gone.
But believe it or not, the horror doesn't stop there. When the family gets back home with William's body, the tragedy actually gets deeper. Elizabeth has this completely shocking reaction, and it adds a whole new terrible layer to the entire story. Yet the moment she sees the body, she screams this out. Can you imagine? It's just a stunning, totally bewildering moment. Here they are in the middle of this awful tragedy, and it sounds like she's confessing to murdering the child she absolutely adored. I mean, why on earth would she blame herself? And that really is the big question here, isn't it? It sounds like a confession, but it's not a confession to the actual murder. So what in the world is she confessing to? Well, it turns out the answer has to do with a gift. Elizabeth's guilt, as it were, comes from this really valuable locket she had let William wear. It was a tiny portrait of their mother, and after the murder, the locket was gone. So, for the rest of the grieving family, the conclusion seemed pretty obvious.
So, in her grief, Elizabeth is convinced that her act of kindness is what tempted the killer. She feels like she's the one who gave him a reason to attack. And that weight of responsibility is just crushing her. The rest of the family, though, they see it a bit more simply. The motive was robbery, plain and simple. And that's pretty much where the letter ends, on this really desperate note. They have a theory about why William was killed, but they have absolutely no clue who did it. The killer has just vanished, completely without a trace, leaving the family just stuck in this awful state of grief and uncertainty. And this is the very question that kicks off the rest of the novel. The family? They think some common thief is to blame. But Victor, reading this letter all the way over in Ingolstadt, he has a much, much more terrible suspicion. A suspicion that was born in his own laboratory. He's terrified that the monster he created is the real killer. So who is truly responsible for this tragedy? That's the question that hangs over everything.